Welcome back to the 9th Gym program, and today we are going to be talking about Landorus-T, Landorus-Therian, if you will. Now, this Pokemon is really strong and has been a menace in every single format that it's been legal. It's been very, very strong in formats without restricted Pokemon. It's been one of the best, if not the best, or at least most used Pokemon in the game. And of course, now we have a lot of really good Pokemon that can deal with it really well. Things like Competitive Milotic, Mamoswine, Ice Punch Metagross, G-Max Lapras, the list goes on and on, Vicious Ren Dracovish. So many Pokemon that do a lot of damage against Lando, but it's still an insane Pokemon. It's still got a huge buff being the Max Airstream and Max Quake. The fact that it can Dynamax. That's insane. This Pokemon should not be able to Dynamax, but it can. So it is going to be still an insane threat with huge attack, crazy good speed, really good bulk. This Pokemon all around is just such a solid Pokemon, and we can't ignore the fact that it got a huge buff with Dynamax. Yeah, there's a lot of Pokemon that have Competitive and Defiant. Yeah, there's a lot of Ice-type Pokemon or Pokemon that have Ice-type moves. Sure, but it's still a great Pokemon. So let's talk about it. Ground Flying typing is one of the reasons why this Pokemon is so good. It's great for offense. It's a great offensive typing, and it's pretty solid with defense. The only weakness, well, there's one weakness of water, but then there's one quad weakness of ice, so those are both unfortunate, but, you know, it's okay, especially since we have, like, Rillaboom to kind of erase that weakness. You know, Rillaboom and Tapu Bulu, huge good grass-type Pokemon that can counter those water-type Pokemon really well, but ice is kind of a problem. Right, and our best fire-type Pokemon, well, we got Heatran, but really good fire-type Pokemon like, Incineroar and Arcanine, both are also Intimidate, and you don't want too much Intimidate on your team. Not saying the multiple is bad, but when you come up against those, Defiant and competitive users, it may not be optimal, but still pretty good. Landorus-T is insane. It has 2 immunities as well, being Electric and Ground, which are both very common typings, which is really good. 3 resistances of Fighting, Bug, and Poison, which are all, mediocre, but pretty good. Fighting is really good. Intimidate. This Pokemon has the ability Intimidate, which is insane. So a lot of people don't really understand why this Pokemon's insane, but not really. I think everybody does. I mean, look at that attack stat, look at Intimidate, look at the typing. It's an insane Pokemon all around. Looking at the stats, let's look at these stats, because I don't have to talk about Intimidate much. Stats, it's insane. As far as bulk goes, general bulk goes, all of it is average, if not above average. 89 HP, 90 defense, and 80 special defense let this Pokemon just not take too much damage from pretty much everything. And not to mention, it also has Intimidate, so physically, it's very, very defensive, especially with Dynamax and potentially HP and, other bulk investments as well. So this Pokemon can work really well defensively as well as offensively. And offensively, it's pretty insane. 145 attack is an unbelievably strong attack stat. It's one of the top attack stat Pokemon that we have in this format. It's just so good. And combine that with a really good offensive typing and great max moves, crazy Pokemon offensively. And as far as speed goes, 91 is actually really solid, especially with Max Airstream and a lot of good Tailwind Pokemon in the format, especially with the move tutor ones like Zapdos and Kartana and things like that shouldn't really get it, but do because move tutors. Also, let's not ignore that special attack stat, 105. With a lot of Intimidate Pokemon in the game, it might actually see more play as a special attacker. I don't think it will this format, but it has in the past seen a lot of, special attack play. So it's definitely not something to ignore. Anyway, that is about it for the overview. Let's go ahead and talk about the actual VGC builds that I have prepared. They're both, definitely very customizable, and the sets will definitely evolve with the meta. But right now they are pretty, they're pretty basic. I'm not going to lie. They're pretty basic, especially the first one. Assault Vest, Intimidate. Let's go ahead and jump into the first build. Assault Vest, Intimidate. Now, this is mostly a Dynamax Pokemon. This is something that you're going to Dynamax and go Max Airstream, Max Quake, and even the other 2 Max moves can be good as well. Max Flutterby can hit things like Cresselia really hard, and Max Rock Slide hits a lot of really good Pokemon. Things like Togekiss are still going to be pretty prevalent in the meta, and it's going to be solid. It also is good to just change the weather, which is pretty cool. You can even run like a Sand Rush Pokemon on your team just for that, ability to do that. I probably wouldn't, but it's something you could do. Overall pretty solid. Fly, Earthquake, Rock Slide, U-Turn, Dual Stab. We're running Assault Vest, so you have to just run 2 other moves. Rock Slide for coverage, but also Rock Slide is insane, especially if it lives the entirety of its Dynamax. Then after a couple of Max Airstreams, Fast Rock Slide is insane. You just hit flinches everywhere. It's really good. And then we also went with U-Turn. Since it's Assault Vest, hitting that Intimidate and then U-Turning out turn 1 instead of just Dynamaxing is still a great option as well. Recycle that Intimidate and also get it out of there. Those ice Pokemon are kind of scary. So it's pretty good. I like Landorus-Therian a lot, and I think the Assault Vest Dynamax build will be really good. As far as EVs go, I went with just 4 HP and then 252 into attack and speed. This is surely going to change a little bit, especially with, a lot of big threats in the meta, being able to EV for those. But with damage calcs, it's not that bad, and Assault Vest definitely helps a good bit. So that is it for the first build. Let's go ahead and look at the second build as well. Landorus-Therian at Weakness Policy. Now, this is a kind of, just a theory. I think this could be cool. I saw like 1 or 2 people playing it on Sports PSIM, so I thought that was pretty cool. But Landorus-Therian at Weakness Policy sounds weird, right? Because those big Ice-type Pokemon are just going to kill it immediately. Well, you can actually EV to live a lot of things. You can live Metagross's Max Hailstorm at Jolly Nature or, anything other than Adamant, which is probably going to be Adamant a lot of the time, but still. It's very good. And then you also have the fact that, it's Jolly, so it's very strong, or very fast. You have Weakness Policy to give you +2, and then very fast Pokemon, Jolly Nature. 157 is not an insane speed tier to be at, but it's pretty solid. So, looking at this Pokemon, also another really cool thing about using Weakness Policy is that we get to use Protect, which actually helps this Pokemon a lot. Rock Slide is great, Earthquake is great, Fly is great, Dual Stab, Protect, 1 move of choice. That 1 move of choice is going to be Rock Slide as well. I just think it's really solid. Now, there are other ways of using these Pokemon. Oh, and let me explain the EVs spread a little bit. I went for 244 into HP and then 12 into defense and then 252 to speed. Now, this is to survive Metagross Max Hailstorm. I'll show you the damage calc. We have a damage calc portion here in a little bit. I have speed tiers next and then damage calc and then singles. So, do that. Skip around if you have to. But yeah, it's pretty good. And I think it's actually very solid to have bulk investment as well, especially with Weakness Policy. Not to mention, you have ways to practice immediately, things like Aqua Jet Urshifu, Aqua Jet Primarina. You have a lot of random weird ways, but I think both those Pokemon will still see play in Series 7, especially Urshifu. So, it's pretty cool. I like it. Anyway, that is going to be it for those 2 builds. Let's go ahead and talk about these other options here as well. So, Superpower and Swords Dance. These were the 2 moves that kind of caught my eye. If we get Knockoff again, then awesome. I don't think we will, but maybe we will. Superpower is really solid, especially since it gives us Max Knuckle as well. I think on the Assault Vest build, these 4 moves are better, and I think, honestly, most of the time, I will opt to go for, like, Rock Slide or U-Turn instead, but Superpower is still a viable option. Now, next we have Swords Dance as well, which is cool. That's what I'm using in the singles build, but I still think, it's relevant to talk about, and I think it could still come up, so it's pretty cool. Anyway, these other options as far as items go as well, I have Life Orb, just because it gives you more damage, especially when you're Dynamaxed, and then it also has Choice Scarf, which has seen a lot of play in the past, and I still think could, because it makes him unbelievably fast. Pretty cool stuff. Anyway, next we have the, synergetic Pokemon. All these Pokemon are pretty synergetic and good for a reason, and yeah, let's talk about it. So, Heatran is very good. It deals with those ice Pokemon pretty well. Obviously, it doesn't like water Pokemon either, but it's okay. It doesn't like ground-type Pokemon as well, but Landorus-Therian can be a great switch-in. You have Heatran, you think you're gonna die to a Max Quake, you switch into Lando, you waste one of their Max turns, as well as activating Intimidate, so that can be really good. So it can be a great partner with that scenario. Next, I have Tornadus, whichever one you want to say. I think it's Tornadus. Anyway, Tornadus has Prankster Tailwind, which is very good for this Pokemon. 157 is pretty fast, but that ×2 is very fast. And Prankster Tailwind right now with the dynamic speed makes this Pokemon even better. So I think this is definitely a no-brainer for a lot of people's early teams to have Landorus and Tornadus. Pretty good stuff. Also, it has other supportive natures, like Helping Hand, you have Swagger, you have a bunch of random weird things that make it a little bit better, so it's cool. Next we have the Tapu Koko. Tapu Koko I think is actually really solid with this Pokemon. A lot of people were thinking Lando, Tapu Koko, Lando Koko would be one of the main archetypes at the very beginning of the format. I still think it will be. Other people are kind of saying Landorus-Therian is overhyped. I think it's still very, very strong, like unbelievably strong. It's still an insane Pokemon. You definitely shouldn't just, write this Pokemon off because you have a Milotic on your team. It's still going to be insane, and Tapu Koko helps a lot. Having that electric typing, not like in ground, being able to switch in, it's the same thing as the Heatran there, but it also destroys those water type Pokemon and does pretty good damage against those ice type Pokemon. It also activates the terrain. I mean, the terrain doesn't help the Lando too much, because it's flying, so it's not going to make it so it can't get spored. But still, it's really solid. I think Tapu Koko is a great partner for this Pokemon and just a great Pokemon in general. Anyway, that is going to be it for this section, the VGC build section. Let's talk about some speed tiers. So, I had to delve back into 2018 speed tiers to get a lot of these speed tiers. That's why you see stuff like Mega Gengar. Okay, just let it be there. It's fine. Anyway, 157, very fast. By the way, none of this is Tailwind stuff, because, most of the time Lando can also Tailwind on that same team, so, it's weird. So I just left it at this, but yeah, it's pretty good. 157, outspeeding a lot of really good Pokemon, things like Excadrill, Xurkitree, Tapu Bulu, Togekiss, Excadrill if it's not Sandrush, let me say that. All these Pokemon are really, really strong, and I think will be very strong in the upcoming format of Series 7, so it's great that Lando outspeeds them. Lando outspeeds a lot of other Pokemon, things like Gmax Lapras, we have Duraludon, we have, a lot of Pokemon. I don't feel like saying every Pokemon right now, but a lot of really good Pokemon outspeeds things like Heatran, Cresselia, there's a lot. There's a lot of good Pokemon. Anyway, Lando is still outsped by a lot of Pokemon as well. That's kind of why the Max Airstream or Tailwind is kind of needed for this Pokemon, but yeah. Anyway, Pokemon that do outspeed it: Tapu Lele, Arcanine, Garchomp, Kartana, Ninetales, Alola, Cinderace, Tapu Koko, Dragapult, Tapu Lele at Scarf. The list goes on. There's a lot of Pokemon, and there's a lot of Pokemon that will outspeed it with Tailwind, so that's why, once again, Tailwind is pretty strong with Lando-T. Anyway, that is about it for speed tiers. It hits a pretty respectable speed tier, but definitely is still scared of a lot of Pokemon being in speed tiers. Arcanine can outspeed it and Will-O-Wisp it. Ninetales, Alola can activate Aurora Veil to minimize that damage, or even Blizzard and do a lot of damage. There's a lot of stuff to worry about, but, Tailwind helps a lot, and so does Max Airstream. So, let's move on. Damage calcs. Now, a lot of these are going to be defensive, just because I wanted to show off the fact that Assault Vest or Investment can actually help this Pokemon a lot and make it so it doesn't just immediately die. Of course, if you invest, you're going to be taking a little away from the attack, but still, it's really relevant. Alright, let's start this off. Competitive boosted, so it's +2. For investment into special attack, Milotic Ice Beam. Now, if it maxes and is invested, it'll do more damage, obviously, but still, not that bad. 4 HP, Assault Vest, Dynamaxed Lando-T, it takes 66.6 devil number, sorry guys, and set to 78.7%, which is guaranteed 2-hit KO, meaning the Assault Vest helped us get there. Pretty good stuff. And even if it Ice Beams or Max Hailstorms instead of Ice Beams, I think we still live that. Let me double check that, because you know what, that's pretty neat to know. Max Ice Beam still, it's not the greatest calc. 95 to 113, which is still a 75% chance. So if they max, but honestly, like if they max Deco your Lando and you didn't max, that's pretty fair, because they're just going to use, like, they're going to have Milotic now, and if you have like Rillaboom or Tapu Bulu or anything, like, it's not that big of a worry. So it's not that bad of a thing. Anyway, next we have Intimidated, Dracovish, Vicious Rend, doubled Vicious Rend because it's at Scarf or Tailwind or Sandrush, whatever you may have. It is Strong Jaw boosted, but, if it's going to be Sandrush, it's probably going to be Choice Band anyway. Into the Dynamax Lando-T, hits 74 to 87%, which is guaranteed 2-hit KO, meaning Lando lives. Pretty good stuff. Now, next we have Lando Dynamaxed Max Airstream with 252 attack, investment, and to Tapu Bulu with 252 HP investment and 4 defense, hitting 119 to 142. So that means that if that thing does not max, is dead. Pretty good stuff. Next, we have Dynamaxed -1 from the Arcanine's Intimidate. Max Quake into a pretty bulky Arcanine with 244 HP. No defense, but it would probably have like 4. Hits 97.9 to 116.3%, which is a lot of damage. 87.5% chance to OHKO. Now, I've seen a lot of people kind of hyping up Arcanine to be the Intimidator of choice. If you're not using Lando and you want to think like, hey, maybe Incineroar or Arcanine. I've seen more people liking Arcanine because of fast Will-O-Wisp, so that's why I put that over Incineroar. But, we do a lot of damage to Incineroar as well. I don't think Incineroar dies, though. Anyway, next we have Landorus-T with Max Flutterby into a Cresselia, hitting 50 to 59. Now, this probably doesn't seem like an insane calc, but hitting that much against Cresselia is really good. A guaranteed 2-hit KO is very useful. Bypassing its, Pinch Berry. If it's Citrus Berry, then, darn. But it's still like really solid, and it's great damage against Cresselia, so that's really good. Even just regular U-turn does a lot of damage against Cresselia, which is really good. Next, we have Max Hailstorm into Landorus-T. Now, this is what I was saying. With that investment of 244 HP and 12 defense, you can live a Max Hailstorm from Metagross not inherently better nature or weakness policy activated, hitting 84.1 to 99.4, guaranteed 2-hit KO, guaranteed live that. Good calc. That is it for the damage calc. So let's talk about Single Spotlight real quick before I end the video. Single Spotlight, this Pokemon is still really, really strong in singles as well. Using things like Stealth Rock and Swords Dance. When you pivot in, you hit an Intimidate, they have to switch out. Boom, you get a Stealth Rocks up or a Swords Dance or something like that. It's very good. I went for Earthquake and Stone Edge. Since we don't have Flynium Z anymore, there's not really any point in using Fly for this Pokemon because it's a bad move. They'll just switch into something that resists the hit. It's not that good. So, yeah. I went with Life Orb to do as much damage as possible, and I gave it Earthquake and Stone Edge. This is definitely customizable, and, if it's going to be the Dynamax Pokemon of choice, then maybe go Fly, so you have Max Airstream, but still, nonetheless, it's good. Stealth Rock and Swords Dance are both insane, make the Pokemon insane. As far as the build itself goes, I just went 252 into attack and speed, and then 4 into special defense, Jolly Nature, just to make it as fast as possible. It's a good Pokemon in singles as well. I think it's better in VGC, because Intimidate is way better in VGC, because it hits 2 Pokemon, but still, it's really good. Anyway, we are very far into this video, so I want to go ahead and end it here. Overall, I think Landorus is insane, not overhyped, maybe a little overhyped, but still an insane Pokemon. Of course it has checks, but every good Pokemon has checks. If no Pokemon has checks, then it would just have 100% usage, and the game would be less fun. Anyway, that is going to be it for the video. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed, leave a like, comment, subscribe. It means a huge, makes a big difference. Follow the socials. All links are going to be in the description, the Patreon, Twitch, all those stuff. Watch me live on Twitch. Links in the description. Anyway, that's going to be it. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.